Okay. This public hearing is now called to order at 6 on Wednesday, March 8th of 2023. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands. It's most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the Fairhaven Neighborhood News on March 2nd, 2023. It's also posted in the town clerk's office. Is this getting taped, Mike, or is this going out live?
Pardon?
Is this getting taped, or is this live?
Tape.
Taped, okay. It will be broadcast, however. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. So let's start off with minutes for approval from January 25 of 2023.
Make a motion, we approve the meeting.
Okay, you have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. And for the purposes of the broadcast, I'm Bob Roach, I'm the chair, and then we have our commission members here. We do still have one opening, so let our selectmen know if you are interested in that. Meeting mail, I have a letter from U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regarding the Bedford Harbor Superfund site. What do we need to know about that, Pat?
So we need to know it's nothing in our jurisdiction.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're just telling us
Public
that.
notice.
Okay, yep, we like easy. Old business, I see a big blank space, how about that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. New business, I need a motion to open a public hearing, please. Do
So moved.
we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing, RDA, Eversource Energy / Acushnet River / Acushnet Substation. A request for determination was filed by Eversource Energy for property located within the Acushnet River and Acushnet Substation, map 25, lot 43. The applicant proposes geotechnical borings for advancing the engineering for the trenchless crossing design. The applicant is represented by Colleen Pouzis of Power Engineers, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Plan name is Borings B2, SB1, and SB2 locus map dated February 17 of 2023. Turn this over to somebody from Eversource.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Aye.
My name's David Hallowell. I'm with SWCA Environmental Consultants. I am here on behalf of Eversource, and I am working with Colleen from Power Engineers on the project as well. We have submitted this request for determination of applicability, as you said, for geotech borings within the Acushnet River. Eversource is in the process of doing planning and designing for replacing two existing transmission lines that cross the Acushnet River from the Acushnet substation into New Bedford, landing just off of Belleville Avenue. As part of that planning process, we need to do geotech borings to be able to assess, the bedrock and material that are out there, and see if we could do a horizontal directional drill to install the new cables. So that's what we're here for tonight, is just for the boring. We do have one boring that would be in Acushnet. E2 is what we're here for. We have another boring that's on the New Bedford side. We are going to be doing some borings inside the substation. So those are in the buffer zone or just out of jurisdiction. But essentially, the borings would be conducted from a specialized barge, which is shown here, and I can pass this around if anybody wants to get a closer look at it. But basically, it's a barge with has spuds with like outriggers or spuds on the boat that they'll lower down to the bottom of the river. It lifts the boat up to keep it level, and from that they'll use a 4-inch steel core or steel pipe that they'll collect their core samples from. That's driven down into the river through the sediment and into the bedrock, and everything is contained within that 4-inch core. They're able to collect the samples from that. They'll take samples of the soil, the bedrock. Everything is collected through that core. It goes down once and then it comes out once. And as I said, any of the sediment is collected on the boat. They'll be taking samples of it. There'll be any excess will be put in jars, put in drums. The samples would go in the jars. When they're done collecting the corings, they use a grout and any excess sediment mixture to then plug that hole and basically cap it off once they're complete with their work. So everything, everything stays contained within that core, within that 4-inch casing, and it stays on the boat, and they'll seal it all when they're done. And that's essentially the process, and that'll lead to further planning and engineering design for the project. So.
During our site visit Saturday, you mentioned that one of the key goals of this is to understand the sediment and try to find a place where you're either drilling through bedrock or drilling through sediment, so you're not changing gear midway through. Feeling confident that whatever boring is done at B1 and B2 will give that accurate profile without any surprises in between.
Yes, I believe so. So we have an engineer on board that does HDD design, and they, that's the main thing that they do, and we really pressed them to make sure that 2 borings was enough.
Okay.
So hopefully that is the case. We did specifically ask multiple times to make sure that was, 2 borings was appropriate for this. We did conduct a boring, probably about a year ago, I would say, and that was just up further into this area. Yeah, so we did that on either side initially, and that just gave us a general idea of what we would be dealing with. I think right now we believe bedrock somewhere around 35 feet, and the intent of these is to get down to 85 feet. So we'll see if they're able to get there, and we'll leave it to the engineers as to what that means for the HDD itself. So,
what advice or feedback have you received from EPA about any potential PCB sediments on the top? Are there anything within that top couple of inches or whatever of sediment? And is any of that of concern?
We have been coordinating with the EPA, and I think one of the things that we're gonna do after we go through the hearings for these borings is we're gonna set up a meeting with them, and just discuss what we're proposing. I know they're already aware of what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Just in past discussions, they didn't have any particular concerns with what we were proposing, but we have been in regular communication with them. We've had a great relationship with them, just exchanging information, and so I think we will be talking to them again ahead of us actually doing the activity for that reason, just to discuss any potential for contamination. I know that this is in their what they refer to as their cable area, and they had cleared this whole out. They had remediated this area previously.
Okay.
So, yeah, but we will circle
Most of
back.
the problems are south of that
Yeah,
sediment issues.
yeah, and they are, they're working, as you saw the other day, they're working all along the shoreline now, but yeah, so we will definitely touch base with them on this, so.
Pat, any questions, comments, thoughts?
Just my only comment is, Eversource does it right. They're very
Yeah.
rigid and well thought out, and not a big deal.
Questions, comments from anybody else in the commission?
I think it was one of the best site visits I have been on,
Great.
learning wise, educational, and you talked very layman language. And everything you just said has been repeated in my head that I learned there. So
Great.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Should I ask anybody else here about this topic with questions or comments? In case I'll entertain a motion for a negative determination.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Mr. Hallwell. All
Thank
right,
you
motion to
very
close
much.
the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
All right.
If it helps.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You
That's the only hearing on our list here, I believe. Although we have a couple of continued things. So next, budget review. Actually, I'll let Pat finish this discussion over there. Because that certainly came up during this selectmen's meeting on Friday. And I know he's got an update for us on that. So budget review, Pat, I'll turn it over to you.
So, I attended the finance committee meeting with the town administrator, I zoomed in. They've approved Joanne's increase in overtime,
Hallelujah.
her overtime. Yeah, the budget's level funded, there's no decrease or no increase, and that's that.
Any update regarding the other aspect of payment for Joanne?
You know, for me, it's a dead end, I've done everything that I have to.
You haven't heard anything, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody, questions for Pat on that? No. But I was happy to hear when I was listening to the meeting via rebroadcast that they had put the money in for overtime.
Yeah.
Because originally it was like $450 and that was, I don't know, what is it, like 1050, 1200?
It's, I believe it's 1,400.
1400, okay, good. That's something.
It's nice.
The FinCom actually wanted to know if we could eliminate Joanne coming to the meetings and save that hour of work. I had to explain that that was a union job and I wasn't gonna take union work to set the table up and attend the meeting and all of that. What would the town really save, having somebody not come to a meeting for an hour and a half? It's ridiculous.
No, FinCom wants to do a meeting minutes.
They're burning dollars to save pennies. That's really what's going on, so.
Okay, thanks for that. On to stormwater, motion to reopen public hearing.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor? We have continued public hearing, stormwater amendment to a previously approved stormwater plan for Paul Boucher and Nancy Durfee at 7 Morton Lane. File number is SE001-0566. Request to amend a previously approved stormwater plan was filed by Paul Boucher and Nancy Durfee for a property located at 7 Morton Lane, map 14, lots 15H and 17. The applicant requests a review of the stormwater management calculation submitted by Hurrow Engineering, LLC, and plan sketch submitted on July 22nd, 2022 by Hurrow Engineering, LLC. So I know at the last meeting, we voted to lift a couple of restrictions and all of that. I'm just curious, so the next step was also Mr. Hurrow submitting calculations on where that stands, if there's anything new.
Yeah, so we want to thank the
Yeah,
commission again.
for the record.
Nancy Durfee, 7 Morton Lane. I just want to thank you again for releasing the enforcement order and the cease and desist and deeming our project exempt from stormwater. It's a big milestone for us in this project. And we want to thank Joanne for providing us the letter. We did receive a letter on the enforcement order, but we didn't receive anything about the cease and desist, and we just wanted to make sure if there was something formal coming our way.
We need something formal, or we're meeting minutes,
It's voted, it's on the record,
Okay.
it's done.
All right.
so, and it'll be in the meeting minutes.
But a little correction on the record, I don't know that you voted to not require any stormwater, that they were exempt. I don't believe that that was what you did, but we can look at the meeting. I just want to bring that up.
I think what we did say is, no, because it's less than an acre, it's not, doesn't require a stormwater management plan, but we did still want to ensure that there was no increased runoff to the next
But under
property.
the exemptions, it was required to have not necessarily a permit.
Right.
That was the discussion.
Okay.
Right. So and then in the correspondence with Joanne, she mentioned that Agent Hannon was in contact with DEP for a follow-up, and we were just curious as to what that was.
So the commission voted not to uphold the enforcement order, and I believe, I know that there was a
The
violation there.
September or the January?
The January. So I've asked DEP if they're interested in looking at it.
Anything else? Is that
That's it.
the summation of that? Okay.
So why?
I didn't hear that,
She was asking why.
because there was a violation. That's my job. I'm here to protect the wetlands, and that's my job. If the commission wants to, take a pass on something, I'm entitled to ask DEP if they want to take a look at the violation. I mean, EPA wanted to go there, and we went to Deep Brook instead. I didn't think that that was a big enough violation that EPA needed to get involved in that. And because they have a construction general permit, EPA wanted to go there. So I took them to Deep Brook instead, and I felt that DEP should follow up on the violation of the water not being treated by the forebays and going into the wetland.
Still curious though, why would there be a construction general permit if it's less than an acre?
Because it was planned by Zenith that they were gonna disturb more than an acre. And that's what I was trying to say at the meeting, is they have a construction general permit, they're bound to all of these things. And if they feel they don't need the construction general permit from EPA, then they should remove it. They should have an engineer tell them how to cancel that out. But right now, they're still under the construction general permit, supposed to be filing stormwater reports, inspections after half an inch of rain. All of those things are still in play. And
Alan on that then.
Well, I did talk to EPA actually in a stormwater training session, and they said it was just as simple as contacting them to let them know. But we were waiting for you to determine where we were at with the enforcement order and all the
Okay.
other items. I haven't actually done that yet, but I will indeed do that, because I do believe that we did not, even though it states it, as we said, there are many misinformations in both our application, our plan, and the SWIP. We did not disturb an acre and a half, that we were never intending to disturb an acre and a half, but we ending up having a SWIP plan as being guided by Zenith Engineering when we were going through the permitting process. So we would remove that. And I told them that this is what our project was, and he said, we'll just reach out and have it removed. So I will do that.
Yeah, and whatever EPA does, let's have that in writing,
Okay.
yeah, to the file.
it'll show up online on the EPA, NIPD's electronic lookup.
Okay.
It's as simple as notifying EPA that they're not doing the project to the extent. But I can only go by what they filed. So they had a construction general permit, they had a SWIP, and that's what I have to look at.
NIPD's electronic,
They have an electronic lookup. You can go to
Oh,
NIPD's online and
that's
you can
the
see
word.
every NIPD's permit in the town.
okay. All right, so we'll be there when that happens, let us know, yeah.
They can do it electronically themselves.
I'm just, is it normal for a conservation agent to act out on their own to reach out to DEP or EPA on matters of something of this magnitude? It's a single-family home project. There was an event that occurred. Everyone had the same event occur. I'm just confused as to why Mr. Hannon would reach out to DEP without permission from Conservation Commission.
Well, he
Is
did
that
say
normal?
it's within his right to ask, but it is the first time it's happened in this town, as far as I can recall.
And now
Doesn't
what?
mean it's the first time ever. Well, now what? Just do what you're doing. Yeah.
Yes, so, all right. So we did reach out to Mr. Hannon, Mr. Hero, and ask him to look at the calculations and put them in a form with which you had requested.
Mhm.
And we also requested that, it'd probably be good if he watched the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And his response was that he was confused as to what additional information the commission is requiring of us and himself. Especially since the commission had already just mentioned that we're a single-family house and we're exempt. So that we would be exempt from the stormwater regulations of the DEP and the Acushnet stormwater bylaw, so.
What I was asking, anytime a plan is submitted for a project, there has to be demonstration that no water is being added to whatever the neighboring property is.
Right.
And that engineering is provided to us.
Right, so to go back to why we gave you those revised calculations, we had, again, Sarah Quintel took a look at it, the
Right.
oversized drainage,
Yeah.
all of that
And
whole
the site
item.
plan.
So then Alan wrote, created the revised drainage calculations based on determining whether or not the four bays and the, being constructed with
Mhm.
the dams, the check dams, would be enough. And so that's what those calculations were for. But based on re-listening to the meeting, I get the sense that you were looking for something different, even though you said that you want Alan's calculations in a format, of which I'm not sure what that format is, and neither does Alan Hero. So we're still confused as to why we're doing it if we are exempt. And I looked back, we looked back again at the stormwater bylaw, section 5, applicability, and section D. It really basically talks about, if you look at the actual language, and I have it with me, that when you go for a building permit, it's like the catch-all for a project. So if you didn't get caught up in the other items for your project, the catch-all would be, once you pull a building permit, then the building commissioner would send this over to the commission and to the agent to review. We're so far past that. We're done. We don't have a building permit anymore, we now have occupancy. So that doesn't apply, it's not applicable to this project. And section D is really, talks about redevelopment projects. And if you go down the list that they reference, it's commercial, industrial, institutional, or multifamily, of which we're not any of those either.
Right.
So those two items that were brought up at the last meeting, when you look at them and read them in detail, then you see we're still not applicable to what we're doing right now. And I think we've determined that we are exempt because we're not over 40,000. We are a single-family home. I just don't know, what are we actually doing? What are you actually requiring us to do? Is this something that you require everyone to do, even though they're exempt? Do people come in and prove that they're not providing any stormwater anywhere if they're exempt? And we built a 4-bay and the check dams, which we were exempt from, but we built them by your request. So now I'm asking, what is it that we're actually going to do if we are exempt? And these items that you said were what you're requiring us to do this for doesn't apply to us, then I don't understand why we're doing it. And we're just here to try to understand what it is that you're asking of us and of our engineer, and why you're asking us to do this, if it's not within the law.
Bob, Pat has a question.
I think that we resolved all this at the last meeting when you had Mr. Boucher read Section 5C, and that any project that requires a building permit, and Ms. Durfee has the process wrong, it's before the building permit is issued. There's supposed to be a sign-off from stormwater. And as you know, that's been an issue with the solar fields and other things, and the town is tightening that up. But they agreed at the last meeting to provide you with stormwater calculations in the form of the stormwater handbook designed by Mass DEP and required to figure out the calculations. That's what they committed to doing at the last meeting. And they keep coming back and taking another bite at the apple and trying to tell you that you said something that you didn't say.
I didn't. I'm not
So-
putting any words in anyone's mouth, and I really am very disappointed that you continue to do that. Every single time my partner and I come before this commission, that you have some way to insult us, and I would hope that you would stop doing that.
So, other plans that come in demonstrate that there's no runoff to the property, like additional, that's what I'm asking for.
Pre-construction versus
Pre-construction
post-construction.
versus post-construction. And my assumption, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that what Mr. Haru put in handwritten was demonstrating that. And based on the revised plans after your discussions with Sarah. So if what he did can serve as the post-construction calculations, that goes in the file, that's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
Yeah,
What format are you looking for?
Right, because we don't understand the.
I don't
Stormwater
usually look,
handbook, what?
yeah, so just, if it's a
What
stormwater.
was that again, Mr. Hannon?
Stormwater handbook.
Stormwater handbook.
So just not,
Okay.
just not anything handled.
I get that,
Do we have
but
an
he
extra
was, he wasn't sure what form
Yeah,
you were looking for,
Okay.
what
The
format.
form's online, it's a
Okay.
DEP
Okay.
document that you fill in with your calculations, and then an engineer stamps it on the end and says,
Okay, so
He did the
it's a
calculations
DEP
in there.
form,
DEP,
Okay.
stormwater handbook stamped,
okay.
and that should cover it.
So then it would just behoove me to say, we just feel that we're not sure that we would have a biased peer review, given the situation that we have found ourselves in with Mr. Hannon. I don't feel like, that the comments or the sharing of our information between Mr. Hannon and any engineer would lead us to a biased review. And,
We can make that decision as to where it goes, it doesn't have to be him or Joanne,
okay.
so we can do it.
it's actually not up to me and Joanne, we have a rotating list now.
Yeah.
You've eliminated that whole situation.
So
And it won't go to Bills and Thomas, we understand your conflict.
right,
Yeah.
but that's not, am I speaking, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, I just feel like. So, we've spent $22,000 to have plans done that were wrong. And we have a whole list of things that were not correct
Yeah,
from
and
the
I've
work that was done.
Looked at those two, and
They were-
Ron and I both have.
They were
you know.
sent to SW Coles for review. No one caught in that review for one, that were a single-family house lot, that were exempt from your bylaws, that were exempt from SWIP, that were exempt from Mass DEP. And this was your review. This was SW Cole review, whether you like SW Cole, you know, or not, that's not our purview, but it was reviewed and we paid for that. We then hired another engineering consultant and we paid him at least $5,000. So we're almost up to this, for $30,000 in engineering review. Not your problem, that's our problem. And here we are again, we're gonna be having Mr. Hero redo his calculations in a format that costs us. I don't know if the commission's members understand the cost of all of these requests and all the many times that we've come before you and the cost that it is to we're a single-family home lot. We don't have a bank account that's unlimited in our resources. And I understand your need to get what you need, but I also want you to understand our concerns about how this will be done. Since it's already been done, and we didn't actually get the kind of review that a community would probably want in their peer review.
And I feel badly that that was your experience with us, SW Cole, and this town's not really working with them anymore because they hand it off 4 or 5 times. So we'll make that decision as to who gets this. And, you know, I feel badly that you've had to spend that money, but, you know, we also need to tie up our loose ends here. And it's too bad that it's taking you this long to get there. Did you have a question, Pat?
Just for the point, the SW Cole peer review was done through the planning board when they had charge of stormwater. That went to SW Cole. And we did recognize issues with SW Cole, and that's why we pulled it over here to B&T. But she may want to think about some litigation with her engineer. If she spent $22,000 for something that wasn't needed, that's right, beheaded. It's not our issue.
We understand.
We're here to protect the environment,
Fully
not to worry about what it costs.
Now, just for a couple of bullet points, the NOI, under illicit discharge statement, has us listed as a warehouse facility in the NOI.
Yeah, that was something that was written by your
The
engineers.
SWIP plan
Right.
has us listed as a boat storage
Right.
gravel lot. So there's a lot of inconsistencies with the single-family house lot. That's why, right from day one, this project got off on the wrong foot, and I don't know why our engineer didn't pursue the single-family house lot.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
this
a
was,
strange thing.
he came, recommended, we went with it, but
Mm.
there should have been some red flags.
And I don't wanna miss that point. This was an engineer that was recommended by a town official. let's just hang on that point a second. We went by someone else's description as to what would be the best engineer to use for the town of Acushnet. And I understand they actually work for the town of Acushnet, because I just sat in on the select board meeting on Friday, and they are doing work for the town. And they were recommended to us to do our project with them.
Okay. Any
So no, Alan-
questions, is there anybody with questions or comments for Nancy or Paul?
No.
Now, Alan, he's caught up with, I don't know, 6 evening meetings, and then he's taken off in April to Italy.
We're not
So-
gonna have anything
So we're
until
not gonna have
June.
So
anything
we
from
can
him
continue,
until
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
but you happen to have your occupancy permit, so.
They did get their occupancy
Right.
permit, even though you voted not to have it be issued.
I don't know if we ever voted on that.
even
You
they
didn't.
voted.
I don't think we voted on it. That never
No.
came up. So,
So we're gonna continue with the landscaping,
okay,
get that all straightened out, and then when Alan comes back, we will notify Joanne.
Actually, I'd like to notify you when our calculations come back and have you send them directly to your consultant.
hmm? Yeah, we can do that. I'm not-
No offense, we've had quite the experience, and I'm not as trusting on this process as I was when I first started out.
Okay, I understand. Okay. So we'll continue for a month. I won't be at the next meeting, not that that matters, is
Well, like I
No,
said,
we'll-
Alan won't be,
other kids.
Alan won't be back until probably end of April,
Okay,
so,
so we'll continue for a month, and we'll vote on it, and if there's
What's
nothing,
happened in
we'll,
the last 25 years.
yeah.
we'll continue.
It's sad.
Okay.
I was gonna ask for one more thing, I can't remember, the stormwater bylaw that you're working on, as I mentioned, I went to the select board meeting for the stormwater bylaw that you're proposing. I understand that you're going to have a public meeting. I would like to
Yes.
maybe know when that's going to be, and actually get a copy of the draft.
Mhm.
This isn't gonna be for me, but I think that it should have some eyes on it from the residents as to
Well,
how
yeah,
it's
that's
gonna move
part of the
forward.
process. If you wanna stick around, that's 2 items upcoming. Say, well, I have a lot to say.
Yeah,
Okay,
All right,
okay.
thank you.
thank you. Motion to continue for a month.
One other thing is, I would like a response as to what's going to happen with DEP. I can't come back to the next meeting to hear what the response is on the DEP request from Mr. Hannon, but I would like some knowledge of that. If it's, and I wish that you don't carry it out in meeting format until I can come back. And I cannot come back to the next meeting. I have other business to take care of outside of my own personal business. So if it moves you, I'd like a response as to what the outcome of that conversation was with Mr. Hannon and DEP, and what their actions will be.
There was no interaction between me and DEP at this point. I've only referred it to DEP. If they decide to take any action or go out and look, they'll contact them directly. There won't be any other communication between us, unless they think it's necessary and it would be on the agenda.
And we would be notified
By DEP.
by DEP, but if it's on the agenda, we will be notified,
Yeah.
so that I don't have to keep coming
Mhm.
back. And, all right,
Certainly won't be on the next meeting.
all right, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Motion to continue for a month.
So moved.
And a second? In favor? Motion to reopen the next public hearing.
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, continued public hearing, stormwater, José Costello, Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, map 17, lots 66 through 84, map 18, lots 12R, 12S, 18, 18G. Stormwater permit application has been filed by José Costello for property located at Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, map 17, lots 66 through 84, map 18, lots 12R, 12S, 18, and 18G. Excuse me. The applicant proposes to construct approximately 2,350 feet of roadway with associated drainage and utility systems to serve a 15-lot residential subdivision. The applicant is represented by Jamie Bissonette of Zenith Consulting Engineers LLC. Plan name is Deep Brook Estates, dated October 24 of 2017. So turn it over to you, Pat.
Nothing is getting any better out there. So I asked Joanne to look up the provisional approval that I wrote him. And I'm shocked to see that it was back in August. And we gave him permission to work on the existing roads and install his utilities, to give him a break while he applied for his stormwater permit. And it's now March, and we still don't have a full application for a stormwater permit. EPA's been to the site. There's violations at the site. EPA has sent notifications to Mr. Costello. In reviewing the notices of intent today, we found that there were 4 notices of intent for this project. 3 of them, you folks voted COCs because there was no work done on them and they were eliminated. The next,
And were all those when it was still owned by Costco?
yes, yeah, Costco, when they were selling it, they wanted to clear that out. And then there's an older NOI from 2017 that I found today that covers the entire project. And there's a stream crossing in this project, not just a wetlands replication. And there's a 401 water quality cert required by DEP for this project to even start, and we don't have one. And that's a major deal with DEP. So Deep Brook actually runs right across their road and continues down away. And he still hasn't submitted the operation and maintenance plan. Last week, he submitted a new Freedom of Information Act request for information on the stormwater applications and O&M plans for, of all companies, the Acushnet company. Thinking, again, that you folks and myself have given somebody a break that we're not giving him. Acushnet company put up an $80,000 financial assurance for their stormwater controls for that little job. They did everything they were supposed to do. Joanne spent 4 hours Monday putting together the information for his information request. That's her whole shift. No other work got done in this department. This has been going on since August, and it's over. So I'm gonna rescind my provisional approval and tell him to submit the operation and maintenance plan, and he can stop work there. We really need the 401 water quality cert. I've called Bill at GAF to see if perhaps they did get the 401 water quality cert, and we just don't have it in our file. I also called Beals and Thomas and said, you did the stormwater review, but we didn't give you all the information, and there's a letter here from DEP that it requires a 401 water quality cert. So they were gonna do a little bit of research today and tomorrow and get back to me tomorrow and let me know whether they can find the DEP did issue one or not. But they've already put the road in and they've already blocked off the brook. So,
Already blocked off the what?
the brook, the stream. They put the road in. There's no culvert or any type of pipe going through the stream. That's what it looks like.
There was a,
There was a culvert.
yeah, there was a culvert, it was a concrete pipe underneath the road. When you go
And
down and take a left. it
Up to
was-
the, you go in and take a left and go up to the end of the road.
Yeah,
Maybe
cross,
didn't-
I haven't been back
cross
there
over
in
the
years.
power lines and go to the left.
Yeah, cross the power lines,
Yep,
go
and
in,
then take a left.
take a left.
Yeah.
So he didn't have much of that done when I was there with EPA. I'll go take a look at that tomorrow. But still,
It's
they
about
need,
halfway up, cause then it used to open up into like a cul-de-sac
Gully.
almost, yeah.
but either way, that 401 water quality cert's a major issue for that project. And then it turns out that none of the lots have NOIs.
Is
so-
that something we need to vote on to take the provisional, or is that just something you can do on your?
That was just something I did on my own. You guys didn't even vote to approve it.
Okay,
I stuck my neck out to try and give the guy a break. I don't wanna make any developers lose any money. I don't wanna make Nate Gomes have to stop in the middle of a job. I'm very sensitive to that.
Okay.
But it is what it is. And this has been since August that we gave this guy a break. And our chairman had to go on TV and say, Joe, write the check. You know, pay the $4,000, it's a great price. Zenith did do an estimate of what the deposit would be for the stormwater control maintenance for the 20 years. And Mr. Costello objected to that number and said he would fix it. So, and while he's and he's really not fixing it, he's trying to find out that we didn't do our jobs and we gave people a break so that he can come back and force the town into giving him a break. We haven't given anybody a break, as you've just heard from, you know, the folks from Morton Lane. And that's our job, is to enforce the Wetlands Protection Act. So, I don't see any other choice, because that's what's gonna make him act. And then finding out today that there's no NOIs for any of the lots, then he can't even start to, you know, enter off of that road into those lots, and I think some of that work is happening now. I asked the contractor, based on the comments from Beals and Thomas about the basins being undersized and possibly being in the wrong locations, had he been told to stop working on the basins? And he was told, no, finish the basins, we're gonna get an exemption. And that's what's going on out there. So it makes no sense to finish the basins if the comment is they're undersized and possibly in the wrong locations. So, or he'll be in here saying that we made him spend money and we should have stopped him.
If there's questions now that the basin's undersized, wait till there's 12 houses in there.
Right. And in the wrong place.
So if that authority gets rescinded and it doesn't
He'll have to
work,
stop working until he has his stormwater permit.
Right.
That's all. But he's had since August to do this.
right, I
And
understand that, yeah.
I think that, what was our longest running one with Beals and Thomas that took forever? Was it Wing Lane? Yeah, Wing Lane took us like almost a year to get the after the fact permit, do the infiltration test, and that's what could happen out there. If this gets constructed and people start getting flooded, they spent over $200,000 doing all of that stuff we made them do. And that's 5 times the size of Wing Lane. He could spend $500,000 out there making a mistake.
Yeah, it's 15 houses, right?
Yes, or tell you it's a hardship, but I don't want to do it. So it's time to stop until it's right.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Anything else we need to know on this one?
No, that's it.
Okay. So we're gonna continue this then, so a motion to continue next meeting or a month? I guess we'll talk about it next meeting, just in case.
Yeah,
Okay.
for status.
Motion to continue to the next meeting.
Make a
So
motion.
moved.
In a second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Continued. Okay, motion to close. Oh, no, sorry. We just continued, never mind that. Okay, next item on here is stormwater bylaw. So I will start this discussion. So, this is for everybody, not just people at the table here. Now, we were made aware months ago, a year ago, that the town's current stormwater bylaw, as approved in May of 2021, was now fully in compliance with what EPA wanted. So you then talked with Conoco to create an amendment to our bylaw and bring it in line with EPA. That was presented to us. We've all had a look at it. I've had many hours on it. I know Ryan's devoted a lot of time. And I know, Rick as well. And, like looking not only at the EPA guidelines, comparing what Conoco gave us to EPA, but looking at what other towns have done. From there, I sent out a proposal. You've all looked at it. We've all commented on it. And we're feeling pretty good about it. Then I sent it to you two. And what I should have said was, this is for you two right now, don't send it along yet. It ended up with the selectmen. And
Well, it went to Pam first.
it went to Pam, but it wasn't ready to go to the selectmen. But before it went to them, and I thought, and this dawned on me Wednesday night, Thursday night, I emailed to Pam, I said, I think what I sent to you based on this one line in your email is not what you need. Because I had given you two, and thus to Pam, our mock-up of Conoco's thing, not comparing our proposed bylaw to what's existing. And I said I would work on that. So what the selectmen and the town administrator saw was this thing that wasn't ready wasn't ready for prime time. And then the comments were made based on that. I'm okay with questions and getting asked, well, this isn't the right format. But when the tone of the questions being asked are exceptionally disrespectful, snarky, it's like the town is like thanking you up the backside for trying to do work and donating a whole lot of time. And I'm happy to do it, but when the response is, especially from people that I've had conversations with and have had cordial conversations about detail, for that to happen on camera, not cool, you know? Okay, but you have some information to add based on a meeting you had with our town administrator the day
Yeah, so-
before, which could have helped that conversation that happened on Friday.
Yes, absolutely. So I watched, so now, maybe not with this camera, but the meetings now are sent out live streaming on the Acushnet channel on YouTube. So I live in Central Mass. I can't watch your selectmen's meetings on cable TV, but I got a notification on my iPad that the Acushnet channel was live at the selectmen's meeting. So I hit into it, and I happened to catch that bit. But after meeting with the finance committee on Wednesday night with the town administrator and discussing the budget, they asked about stormwater. And the town administrator said, it's gonna be an article, and I'm putting $50,000 into a stormwater article, and I'm putting $25,000 into MS4, $50,000 into an MS4 stormwater article, and $25,000 into a MS4 stabilization account. So in the event that we need $75,000, we've got $75,000 appropriated at town meeting. And I listened to that, and I was like, okay. And then the finance committee asked if that was gonna bring us into compliance. And the town administrator didn't really wanna say yes or no, and it was kind of a maybe. And then they asked me, and I said it would be substantial compliance, and that's the trade term for being in compliance, is being in substantial compliance. So Thursday morning, I got a call to go over to the town administrator's office and meet with him. And when I sat down, I said, I really don't understand about the article thing, because you folks do it a little different than we do it where I live. And I was the chairman of the finance committee. I'm very familiar with town meeting and doing all of that stuff. So I said, what's the purpose of the article? And he said, the purpose of the article is that it's gonna be in my budget, and I'm gonna control the MS4 stormwater. And they only gave us $23,000 to deal with stormwater, but when the town administrator and selectmen are gonna take over, and that's what's happening, they're taking over the oversight of the MS4 compliance and spending the money, there's suddenly $75,000 available. And it's because they don't wanna fail, but they'll let you fail. So, and then he told me that he wanted to know if we could get Conoco back to finish the stormwater bylaw and to address the issues of, is it in compliance with what EPA wanted? And when I watched the Friday meeting, I was floored, because the town administrator already knew the answer, but wasn't willing to tell the selectmen, and he let that whole BS thing go on of the Conservation Commission doesn't know what they're doing, it's turned in the wrong form, it's this, it's that. It was wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And I'm probably gonna get crap about this tomorrow, but I really don't care. Because I called Bob and said, you were sandbagged, and you need to call me because I don't wanna put it in an email, but we just put it on TV. But it needs to be said. And this is what goes on with us, Bob. This is what's going on with Joanne. And this is why Joanne can't get a raise. They kick everybody in the backside for doing their jobs. And I tried to tell you folks, maybe a year ago, that you were being disrespected as volunteers. And that you need to stand up for yourselves and put your foot down and say, look, we're the commission. We're gonna tell you what we're gonna do, or we're not gonna do it. And you really need to, how many hours have you put in all these years? And that happens. And there was no reason for it, but we still have that same selectman going on TV and bashing the employees. It happened at the PJ Key meeting last night. It was brought up the employees didn't do their jobs, and the town of Acushnet's responsible for part of this here. we hear the town needs to flush the toilet and get rid of the employees that aren't doing their jobs. I'm sitting at the table with Joe Correa and we're saying, are they talking about us or the people that left? Because they don't say those people left already and that's why this happened. So there's all this hubbub out there that no one in town hall's doing their jobs, everybody's crooked, and the only people that are right are in that building over there. And it's wrong. Everybody does their jobs, and everybody in this building does their job without supervision, and they're damn lucky that we do it. So,
And I'll add, Sunday I sent an email to all the selectmen, town administrator, town clerk, everybody here, explaining the whole chain of events, trying to fill in all the details, the timeline, so that there's no question as to what the communication was, to get rid of any ambiguity. After that, a couple of hours later, I then got to work creating a new cover sheet, if you want to call it that, comparing existing to proposed. There's a whole lot of red ink in the proposed, because there's a lot of additions, especially moving definitions from regulations to bylaws. So there's now a new document, which is much more in line with what you would expect to be sent off to town administration, selectmen, et cetera, town clerk for consideration for an article. So that's where it stands now, and, you two have it as well.
so what happened to me is it went to my trash, just like it's happening to Pam. So I didn't get it, and in that last meeting when you discussed it, I didn't have it. I was just sitting there, listening to the meeting. But the other important thing that came out is, when I spoke to you on the phone yesterday, there were no edits. You didn't delete anything from that document. But I didn't know that. And the concern was that you folks had deleted something and changed that language, and you may have deleted something that was required in that bylaw. But having not seen the final document, I didn't know there weren't any edits. And actually, if they read it as a true red line, they wouldn't have seen anything struck through, and they would have known, right?
Yeah, the red lines
And-
they saw were the comments on,
And
a couple of.
And when I amended the soil bylaw, I took it, I converted it to a Word document, I did a red line, and then I sent it to legal counsel. And that's probably what we should have done. So I sent it to legal counsel made their edits to it, and then it went to Pam, and Pam formatted it for the warrant. We weren't responsible with that, and that was the one thing I objected to in her email. She said it was our responsibility, and I don't think it is. We don't have that technical expertise to prepare warrant articles. And it's usually the town manager or town administrator, they do all of that, or town council. Last year, town council did everyone's for all the warrant articles. So again,
Yeah, so next step, I would suspect then, is what we've created goes over to Kevin McHugh or Conoco for their review of it, because, they're the original.
and that
Authors.
emergency was removed. It's not gonna be, truth tested, and we know that it's right before it goes to town meeting because no one's looked at it. But on Thursday, the town administrator knew that Conoco was gonna look at it, and that it would be ready in time for town meeting, and it would be in its proper form, and that they would finish the rest of their work and get it in the warrant. And he didn't say that on Friday. He should have just said, it's under control. I met with the stormwater agent, this is what we're doing, it's all set. So,
And town council should have a look at it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't.
they've looked at everything else I've done, I don't know why.
Yeah. Well,
That was a tremendous amount of work you did, Bob.
Yeah.
It really was. I was like, wow,
It's a lot of work to do that stuff.
that's him.
and ultimately, so do you still suspect that our town administrator is going to write the final warrant?
Yeah.
I mean, he'll have everything he
Based
needs.
on the meeting I had with him Thursday, that has been taken out of, that burden has been taken off of the Conservation Commission. And they want to handle the MS4 stormwater, they want to fund it, they want to control it, and that includes finishing the bylaw. Now, they'll have no control over the regulation, because clearly in the bylaw, this commission writes that regulation, brings that regulation forward, votes for it, doesn't go to town meeting, it's a regulation. So they're not taking it over, they want to be in compliance, and they're throwing $75,000 at it to do it.
The other thing we need to do, or I thought is our responsibility, and we're all ready, willing, and able to do it, is to hold a public hearing to explain it to the general public, because we're told that's part of the process, even though we don't necessarily have to, that it could fall on planning to do it.
They'll have to do it anyways,
Okay,
but it doesn't hurt for you to do it.
right.
You know, the more public input, the better.
And
And that was Pam's point.
having
You don't
learned
have
what
to
I
do it,
learned
but you
Friday, I'd rather have us answer the
Yes.
questions, not
As to why you
anybody
did
else.
it.
Right,
They can't.
and
talk
get
about
the
why
answers
you did
straight
it.
from us,
Yes.
yeah, as opposed to assumptions being made. Yeah. So,
Are you leaving at 7?
I probably should.
You got 5
Anybody
minutes.
else with questions or
You got
comments
5
about
minutes.
this topic? Okay. Okay, so we'll see what happens next. Thank you. Appreciate your support on that. All right, on to discussion, Pathway Road, Mr. DeVaros, erosion control update,
We got a letter.
and Mr. DeVaros is here.
Oh,
You probably
okay.
can't see him from
I
your
can't see him, but-
vantage point. Welcome back. Pat?
So we got a letter and he's agreed to put in 400 and something feet of straw wattle and we just need a time frame. That's all. And we're done with that.
What do you think your guys' time frame is on the water problem I got going on?
It's not our problem.
Well, I did follow up the next day, I believe, with an email to Dan Menard. And I got a response from the office saying he was out for a couple of days, but he'd get back to me. I haven't had a response yet, but I did what I said, I did ask. So as far as that goes, I don't know, I'll nudge again.
Yeah, 'cause I don't really wanna dedicate my time into fixing this thing just for it to get washed out again. I'd like to see some progress get done.
But if you put in the wattle, and you've done your part, I mean, I suspect it's gonna hold up better than the, silt fence, but, you know, just, yeah, you're taking care of your part, and
I know, but it's
But
also,
I
it's making me have a lot
realize-
of problems, you know? Like, I can't do nothing in there when it's flooding out.
Right, yeah.
So I couldn't even if I wanted to do the project tomorrow, I can't do it tomorrow. Cause I have a problem going on that's not my, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand.
So, and I don't wanna go out
And I
and
wish
go
I-
out
yeah, I-
on an assumption that this is gonna work.
Yeah.
And then it was like $1,500, I think it was, in materials, plus time, all of that. I don't wanna put all this money out and do it, then what happens? It washes out again. And now what, I have to go and put all this time back into it again? So I would think that the beginning of the project would be fixing the foundation, which I understand where I am in, not applying, but there's also the reason to it, and I would just like to see something go on. January 25th was the first day you guys told me you were gonna start taking care of this problem. It's going on 7 weeks now, and I still haven't even got a phone call. Not even the street side, that's like easily just dig a hole, put a trench in, tie into the existing drainage. He's even called, I even offered to do the digging myself.
I'll give
So-
another nudge, and I realize you're probably gonna say it's not our problem, but I do wanna try to nudge
But the
things along.
commission never said that they would take care of it. You said you would contact Dan Menard. You didn't say you'd fix the problem. And it's not an excuse not to meet the requirements of his notice of intent.
And I think he's doing that.
What's that?
Based on your letter, you're trying to meet that.
Yes, I just don't wanna do 10 steps
Yeah,
backwards.
I understand.
You know, you get one forward and I'm going 10 steps back again. I'm going one forward and I'm going 10 steps back.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I just feel like we have to address the problem that's creating the problem, you know? And I think there's a couple other people here that have concerns on this same problem that are sitting in this room tonight.
Did anybody else wanna speak on this?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
my
For the
name's
record.
Stephen Richard. I live at 92 Payshot Street, and the last house on the right. And let's see, we've been there since '98, and the water problem of my basement has gotten worse and worse and worse. I know this year here we've had, maybe a little more rain than usual, but let's see, my sump pump hasn't stopped since Thanksgiving. Matter of fact, I went, wow, we're having Thanksgiving and nothing's going on. And the next day, it started. And it's been cycling. Matter of fact, it ran for a good month continuously with all the rain we had. And talking with Eric, because he grew up around the corner, And now where he's building and his flood problem, he mentioned that it's further on downstream, that it's at Scouts Pond that there's the problem. And that's why I'm here tonight to support, plus myself, neighbor across the street, Spencer Gomes, I talked to him tonight, he was busy, he wasn't able to come. And, this water problem seems to be getting worse. And I know there's another development going up along the power lines, like if you go up Ring Road where the power lines cross and you look, I don't know if that's the development you guys were just talking about, to put the hold on.
Not your street, he's talking about.
Sorry, Hathaway Road. Hathaway Road.
Now, we're talking about something
Okay.
completely different.
And, like I say, I've been here, well, I grew up in this town, and now I own a home on Pajot Street, and that problem has gotten worse and worse and worse, to where some nights if it's raining, I can't sleep. Because if power goes out, I gotta get up, start the generator to ease, to make sure that my house doesn't flood, which, if he's mentioned that he had did the walk down to Scouts Pond, and he feels
I think it was more than a walk.
Yeah,
Bit of a hike,
yeah. And,
I know
well, if it's something to put in a bigger drain or something like that, please do it, because I know there's, myself, you, 3 or 4 people on my street, and I haven't even really gone around any further. But, that is my concern.
Okay, well, there's more information for the.
Right. And I've called DPW, and they've, they said, put in a request, and she would write something up. And I meant to, come up down, and there's the storm drain at the end of the street, which it grows over, and then, matter of fact, I had put together a presentation and just didn't think of bringing it, but I'll send it to DPW, let them look at it. Plus, right where it crosses Hathaway Road, that pipe is rather clogged, and what have you.
A little bit of maintenance helps.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is, maintenance,
Everett, can I hand this over to you to run the rest of the meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Well, you're the vice chair, so. All right, I have to leave, so, thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, Bob, have a good
Keep
night.
me posted.
We will.
Thank you.
So, as far as DPW, I know I live on Hamlin Street. Somebody on my street above me complained about their yards flooding out. They came down and there's a swale, they call it a grassy swale. It's basically a trench with rocks in it. It dumps on top of the ground next to my house. And they came down and they dug it all out, unclogged the pipes, and it has to be, just keep on and keep calling DPW.
Okay,
Agitate them,
yeah.
you know? If the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
No, I understand that, matter of
Yeah,
fact, they came down there.
that's my best advice.
Okay,
But yeah, I don't know if I wanna spend all that money to put the straw wattle down, but I don't think the straw wattle's gonna go anywhere, like the silt fence.
But I'm not gonna think, I'm the type of person I
I
wanna
mean, that's,
know.
there's some on Hamlin Street that they put down when they're gonna dig up the bridge. It's been there since December.
We can go over pictures that we had gone over last meeting, the time of the big storm we had there, and what happened to all that hay water. I think Mr. Pat Hannon was going after people because it washed out into the street, and that's just one instance that I can come off to on the top of my head.
And that
So-
actually wasn't a straw wattle, that was a silt sock that weighs 40 pounds per foot. And that was the first. Even the engineers in the job couldn't believe that rainstorm pushed that silt sock out into the street.
It was 550 Main, right? Is that what we're talking about?
No, Robinson
Oh,
Robinson Road.
All right.
Yeah, but, my point is here, something has to be done out there. You've got a wetland, the silt fence is on the line, he's driving in and out, he's told you he's bringing logs in there and cutting logs and operating his portable sawmill. There's activities going on, the protection needs to be there. It's that simple. we don't regulate, as you said, what DPW does. And, I don't know.
Okay, so my question is, what is a log gonna do? Does a log have like some kind of fiber on it, like some kind of soil that
Travel
it
through the buffer
bleeds?
zone. The road's in the buffer zone.
Well, no, you just brought a point, I'm just asking, like,
And I'm
what's a
telling you, bring in
log gonna do?
truckloads of logs and the trucks disturb the ground.
But it's a driveway, you're telling me I can't use a driveway now?
Driveway was approved for a specific purpose, for a single-family house, not for,
It is a single-family dwelling, it is in the process of being built. What do you think, this thing's just gonna,
you told us
Show
at our
up?
last meeting you weren't gonna build it for 10 years.
building it? Like, what don't you understand about that?
I
It's a
understand
10-year
the last meeting, you
process,
said
there's a
you-
lot
you
more
weren't
than
gonna build
just,
it for 10 years.
it's not just a process that's gonna happen overnight. So in order for me to do the process, you're telling me I have to do this thing, that's great, I understand that my problem is my problem, I'm not saying that I'm not, I'm admitting, yes, I am. Just a couple meetings ago, actually, the meeting I got upset, you were on the board saying, oh, nobody wants to tell the truth. Well, guess what, I came in front of you and told you the truth, I told you no. Now what am I getting? A more hassle again. This is why people in all of these projects are doing this lie on the board, is to get their projects to go through. When I even have my engineer, I told him, no, that's not gonna work, I don't want that. Oh, no, 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 don't put it, because then your project won't get through and you won't have it at all. Like I just said again, how is a log, what does a log have on it that's detrimental to your wetlands? And then you said on top of that, that it's vegetation on my property. If you look to the left of the property, it's a field, right? You look to the right, it's a field, it's a hay field. It's the same exact plant life. So explain to me, like, how is this log, me driving down my driveway with a log on the trailer, gonna be detrimental to a wetland? I don't understand that. How is that log driving down the road on a trailer gonna detrimentally kill a wetland? What is it gonna do?
Oh, I'm all done commenting.
Why, because you have nothing to say?
No, because it's ridiculous.
No, I'm not gonna forget it.
Well, Chairman
Because
runs
you're
the
not gonna
meeting.
push me around.
I'm all done.
You might be able to push everybody else around, but you're not gonna push me around.
I'm just asking you to comply with the Wetlands Protection Act.
And like I said, I will comply. I am not denying my compliance. I'm asking for a simple problem to be addressed so that my problem is guaranteed to work. That's all I'm asking.
Couldn't be a simple problem for DPW who can't solve it in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
It's because nobody wants to go out and do it.
It's not our job.
That's why I quit working for the town.
Excuse me, if you don't mind me saying something, I would start with just what he said.
You know, I am
And
the
then we
greasy
can take
wheel.
it down a notch. you
But
know?
no, I'm not. I'm being the greasy wheel. It's
I got
over.
you.
It's done.
But you're,
It's
you're
like
squeaking at the wrong place.
I'm not. Well, where else? Where else would you like me to squeak?
If you think that your flooding is causing the problems of the flooding is being caused by the stoppages, which
Yeah.
it probably is. The DPW is the one who's responsible for
Okay,
clearing
so when's
those
the
out.
DPW meeting? They don't have one. So my problem that got brought to me is from this board. So I'm just going through and putting
Your
my
problem
problem
can be over
through
by
it. It's a
just-
stormwater project problem.
Put
Plain
this-
and simple.
put
You
this-
said that you guys are in charge of stormwater, right? Let's get this clear.
Okay, but don't yell at us either.
I'm
Don't
not.
yell at us.
I'm not yelling. I'm
Thank you.
talking with enthusiasm. You said it's stormwater. It's a stormwater problem. Black and white. It's a
If you-
stormwater problem.
If you put the straw wattle in,
And
then
it washes
you won't have
away.
to come back and see us
Call
if
DP
it's there.
first, then.
I've
Then-
been calling. I've been calling and been calling. I sent pictures. I've called. Those little things don't work. So now I'm here. Yeah, I'm upset. Wouldn't you be upset? Now you got someone telling you can't drive down your lot with a log on the back because it's detrimental to the wetland? Come on, does that make any sense? Just a little bit of common sense goes a long way in life. And this is just ridiculous. I'm sorry for getting frustrated, but it's ridiculous. You're gonna really say a log or me work. It's earth. It's not. What the heck is it gonna do? There's 50 million trees down in the woods. So, like I said, I'll give you my date when I can get some feedback. I haven't even got a phone call like, hey, I'll come look out and look at it. Meanwhile, my soil's washing away.
Gotcha.
So why don't we work hand in hand instead of trying to point fingers at everybody? Let's work together. Okay, let's get this problem. That's not just my problem. Like I said, I didn't even have to reach out to other people. They're reaching out to me already. And it's been going on for a lot of years now. Well, I'm the first squeaky wheel to come up and get emotional about it.
And, you know, I'm being really nice and sincere right now. I've walked your property, we all have here. You're a really nice man, you have a nice family. We just gave you an idea, I would run with it, and then we'll
Why are we
take that
gonna
up.
run with an idea? That's what's got me in this position in the first place. It's going with an idea. Oh, that will work.
Can we end this, please?
No, it won't work. So I'm just asking for us to work together, like I said. You guys start coming at me with feedback. I'll come back next meeting and we can talk again. And when I get some answers, I can give you some answers.
All the feedback is whatever tells you.
I-
That's the best we can offer right now, unfortunately.
Okay, so
If you-
then the best I can offer is I'll see you next weekend and then we'll go over it again. Maybe you can make some more
March
phone calls.
22nd.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Do you live there also?
No, I live on Elaine Way,
Oh, okay.
Her business.
and I have, well, yeah, same Kathleen DeBarros, 21 Elaine Way. I have, yeah, water problems. Like
The
Steve
whole
was
town
saying,
has,
It's,
whole
you know,
town has
the
water
pumps run
problems.
constantly,
Everywhere you
the
go in this
backyard's
town, you're
like
gonna
a
find
swamp.
water.
I mean, yeah, and we've
Yeah.
dealt with
this
it.
town is,
It's
this town
definitely
only
getting
sits
worse
about
and
90 feet
worse
above
and
ground,
worse.
above groundwater.
You know,
the
my
whole town.
neighbor's got a, like a pond now in his property. I mean, literally, it's like I worry about the little kids going back there, cause it's,
Okay,
Yeah,
And-
we're
and
gonna,
the-
we're gonna move this on, but we'll see you at the next meeting,
Water, also
okay?
you're causing mold in everybody's houses. It's
We'll
not
see
right.
how to continue.
so much.
It's not right.
It's not a public hearing.
309
Oh, that's
Perry
right.
Hill Road.
Yeah, you're right.
309 Perry Hill Road.
Thank you.
So Bob had left, I went to the site on Tuesday morning. And as you know, at the meeting,
Thank you.
at the meeting, Mr. Rayum from Prime Engineering gave me permission to come to the test pits and stuff. I got to the site, they were in the back of the property work, and there was a company there, work was going on, but the gate was closed. And on the gate was a sign that said, "No trespassing, permission by owner only." So I called the woman that I'm working with in the wetlands enforcement and said, "I'm here, there's a sign on the gate that says permission by the owner only." And she said, "Unless you have permission to go on from the owner, I can't use any information that you give me." So I emailed Prime and said, you know, "I'm here, I need permission from the owner." I just got an email today from Richard Rayom saying that he had a family emergency, he didn't see my email, and that there were 4 wetland scientists overseeing 29 test holes. They delineated the edge of the wetlands with sequentially numbered flags. And in the next few days, their survey crew will locate the flags, do a topographic survey of the impacted areas, and the lead wetland scientists will generate a report. And that they would be happy to meet with me on site once the report's been completed. I prefer they just came and presented the report to the commission. Prime's a professional company. Richard Graham's a very professional guy, and I think that EPA will probably critique what they did anyways. So I'm fine with that, and I'll just email them back and ask them if it's ready by our meeting for the 22nd to let us know, and we'll get them on the agenda, and we'll see what they did. But they did what they were supposed to do, at least in one area. So
All right.
so that's going well.
Then we have 6 Garrison Lane.
So I've had a ton of complaints from Mr. Lima. His neighbor has extended her roof drains over the ground right to his property line. And I mean, the water just comes out of the pipe and it's in his yard. And I think there's a back and forth. I only saw one side of the story when I was there. And there's something going on back and forth there. We've gotten complaints in the Board of Health that Mr. Lima is pumping his septic system into the storm drain out in front of his house. I went out and looked, and I didn't see a storm drain in front of his house. In fact, what I looked at, the storm drains on the other side of the street. And I said, not possible. And then he sent us a picture that she was pumping water out into the street, but it looked like the same picture that she had sent me, that he was pumping septic. So Joe had gone out there on a complaint, or actually, Mr. Lima had come to the Board of Health to tell him that the septic system was failing, and that he wanted to know what he could do. So Joe went out, and Joe said that there is a catch basin right at the corner of Mr. Lima's driveway, and that he may be pumping his flooded septic system into the storm drain. So Mr. Lima came to the counter last week upset that we couldn't do anything for him. So I said, look, we'll put it on the agenda, we'll set up for a site visit, the commission can go out, and you can see what relief you're gonna get, but I have a feeling it's gonna be him that's on the receiving end of an issue here.
Is it 6 Garrison where we went to look at the site for the new septic system? It's a little dirt road?
No.
It's off of Mendel, isn't it?
Oh, okay, wrong
This
street.
is over off,
It's off of Mendel
Oh, no,
Road.
that was Harris.
that's Harrison, it's off the Middle
Harrison,
Road.
yeah.
Harris,
It's
yeah.
over the Middle Road area.
Okay.
No, it's off of Mendel, I think.
Yeah,
It's
Mendel.
down near the,
Oh, yes, it is.
where the
off Middle Road.
Greenbrier
It's on the
Girl
left.
Scout
Yeah.
camp.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
It's on the left off of Mendel before
Yeah.
you get to, there we go.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, that was the best way to end it, is to do a site visit and go that way.
touche.
Because we are trying to clean this agenda up and just get all this stuff off of it.
Do you have any other updates?
No, I think we're pretty updated.
Okay.
So we're gonna hear about it tomorrow.
What happened with Manise Properties? It's not, hasn't been on our agenda in a while.
That got turned over to EPA, he's ignoring us.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was just curious about
He
that.
sent us a SWIP, but he sent it in paper rather than electronically. So
Because I think that
contacted-
might be some of the issues there, going to Scouts Pond, that Eric's talking about as well, because that literally goes right into Scouts Pond.
Yeah. The planning board totally ignored stormwater. It's caused a huge problem, and it's made it a really big problem for me to go out 7 years later and try and start enforcing this stuff. It really is. But it says what it says, and we have to enforce it townwide. I'm being sued by PJ Keating, saying that I enforce things differently against them than I do against others,
You're one of the lucky ones.
and I don't. We butter the bread the same way. No one gets treated any different, and we accommodate who we can.
And
And,
it is what it is.
yeah, and we've got a little rash of people coming in now and saying that I signed that notice of intent because I had to. None of these engineers have held guns to their heads. These people read their SWIPs and they sign them. And they read their construction general permit and they sign it. The engineer didn't sign them. They know what they signed. And Joe Costello did the same thing. When the EPA inspector went out and opened up his SWIP, Joe Costello was the inspector. And he's like, really? And I said, he took the test. And anyone can pass the test. And as soon as EPA got there, he decided that he wasn't doing any more inspections and called Zenith and said, you can take care of it. And that's resulted in, he didn't do his half-inch rainstorm inspections, he didn't do his other inspections, and they've sent him the letter that you never want to get, asking for all that information, the dates you started your projects. Moniz falsified the information on the NIPD's permit that the project started last year. That project started years ago, but they didn't want to tell EPA that they started it without a permit. And that's why I called EPA. I'm not gonna fight with the guy and chase him around and track him down and call Steve Giosa. And that's why I cut to the chase. I don't like to slow dance. I wanna get the work done. And when they hired me, they asked me about compliance, and I said, it's black and white. You're either in compliance or you're not. It's up to you guys to decide what discretion you wanna make on the black and white. So,
Understood.
and that's the update.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
A second.
Oh, sweet, hold on. Good, next meeting?
Our next meeting will be held on March 22nd, 2003. Time 6
2003?
o'clock, place to be addressed.
2023, Everett. You said 2003.
Close
I
enough.
said 22, yeah. March 22nd, 2023. Okay,
All right, with that,
don't mind me.
motion to adjourn?
Second, I'll make a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.